Hi, my name is Paul Specht. I'm a WRAL state government reporter. I'm here with Will Doran, who's also part of our NC Capitol team. And we're coming to you less than 24 hours after polls closed and election results came out here in North Carolina, not only in Wake County, but across the state. And we're here to break down some of the voting trends for you. Will, you've been looking at these all morning. Tell us what you've seen.
Yeah, now obviously we had elections all across the state. You know, Durham, Fayetteville, plenty of places turned out to elect mayors, city councils, but we are looking here at Wake County specifically. That's because you can see back, this is the 2024 presidential election results here. We're a pretty split county, obviously voted for Kamala Harris overall, but there are a lot of pretty Trump supporting areas, especially in the suburbs in both southern Wake and northern Wake counties. And those areas also for years have had Republican mayors, Republican town councilmen. That has all changed. All of those people have been booted out of office by voters as of last night. Republicans won just one of the 22 races in which the Wake County GOP had endorsed a candidate. In the 27 races where the Wake County Democratic Party endorsed a candidate, they won 25 of those 27. So it was really just a resounding victory across the board for Democrats, even in these really red areas that you see here on the map that voted for Trump just a year ago.
It's sort of fascinating how fast it happened. I remember not that long ago that Apex, had an almost entirely Republican town council. There's not a single Republican on there anymore, right?
No, fully Democratic now, and Cary too. I mean, Cary is the quintessential country club Republican kind of place. But in the last decade, really since the rise of Donald Trump, we have seen the suburbs become more and more liberal as Republicans are leaving the party. People are shifting over to the Democratic Party, and Cary voters also, last night, they weren't voting for mayor, but they got rid of Jennifer Roberts, who's been, a long time councilman there.
How much of it could be that Democrats are fired up a year after Trump was elected and Republicans just generally aren't?
Yeah, I think we can get more into that later for sure, but that is the big theme that we are seeing here, is that people are just unhappy with Trump and are really energized to get out and vote. We actually have seen in last night's elections, this was the highest voter turnout that we had for any sort of municipal election in Wake County in over 20 years. And so it's just really a sign that people are energized to get out there and vote, and specifically to vote for Democrats in these races, even in areas that historically have been pretty Republican. Let's take a look at some of the individual races that just kind of illustrate this trend. So here, this is Fuquay Arena. For people who don't know it, there are 15 voting precincts that make up the town. And those light beige areas, that's the areas that Republican Mayor Blake Massengill won last night. Blake Massengill, he's been the mayor of Fuquay Arena for years. He's been on the town council for over a decade. Every single one of these 15 precincts voted for Donald Trump in 2024.
Every single one?
Every single one of them is a Trump precinct. And the incumbent Republican mayor only won 4 of them.
Wow.
That is just kind of, telling about how this went. And you see it all over the county too. I think we've got some other suburbs to look at.
Yeah, we do. Let's take a look here. Here's southwest Wake County here.
Right, exactly. Next door, you got Holly Springs, one of the fastest growing places in the state. And, part of this Democratic influx too is because you have so many people moving here from other states who are Democrats. But part of it too is just these trends that we have seen in the suburbs getting more and more liberal. And again, you have 12 precincts that make up Holly Springs. 10 of those 12, Trump won. One of them was actually a tie. Only one of these 12 actually voted for Kamala Harris.
To show that your vote does matter. There can be ties.
Exactly. But, in the election last night, it was the Democrat picking up 7 of those 12 in knocking out the Republican incumbent mayor, Sean Mayevsky.
Wow. Let's take a look at one more.
This is actually probably the most wild example of all of these. This is Wake Forest up here in northern Wake County. And again, this is an area where Trump won almost all of these precincts. I think it was 10 of the 13 in 2024.
Right. Wake Forest, one of the last towns with a Republican mayor, home to a seminary, sort of traditionally, historically, a little more conservative than a lot of the suburbs of Wake County, of Raleigh.
Right. And Vivian Jones, who's the mayor there, she's unaffiliated technically. She doesn't belong to the party, but she's a conservative. And she's been the mayor since 2001. And a lot of those elections, she has won by massive margins. I mean, we're talking 60, 70% of the vote. This, not a single one of those precincts voted for her last night. It was all the Democrat. Ben Clapsaddle, who, he's not a complete unknown figure. He's been on the town council there for years. But I mean, we're talking about a popular conservative mayor in an area that overwhelmingly voted for Trump just a year ago. And I mean, he's winning, look at these numbers, 75 to 24. That's a 3-to-1 margin in some of these areas.
It's not close.
No, it was not close. And that was really the theme of this whole election, that it was not close. I mean, Democrats just really stormed to victories everywhere.
So we've talked about the data a lot. It's still less than 24 hours since people cast their votes and the ballots were counted. One thing to point out is that, while Democrats did well last night, we don't know if this was just a good get out the vote effort from Democrats, or how many of these people whose ballots you've seen, not on this chart, but on others we've shown you, are swing voters. What are we going to be able to take away yet? For next year's midterm election.
We'll have to wait a little bit to get the full data to dig into, okay, was this just Republicans are staying at home and Democrats are getting up off the couch and going to vote? Or was this a lot of, swing voters or even Republicans turning out and kind of turning against their local Republican incumbents, saying, we're done with this. We want Democrats to be in charge, at least here at the local level.
Right.
But again, why should we care about this? Well, it goes back to this map here. Look at all of this red. The suburbs have always been the battleground here in North Carolina. We are a battleground state, and the battleground of the battleground is the suburbs. That's where the undecided voters, the swing voters live. And in 2026, here's our article, we've got a huge U.S. Senate race coming up in just a year.
Right.
It's already well underway between both of these men, Cooper Michael Whatley. They obviously still have to win a primary, but I think everyone expects them to do so coming up in March. And looking at these results in the suburbs, that battleground area for Democrats, I think this is something that probably the Cooper campaign is pretty excited to have seen last night.
Right. Well, we may not have, the crosstabs and the spreadsheet showing, who changed their mind. The Cooper and Whatley campaigns pay people a lot of money to get that data as soon as possible so they can start tailoring their messages to voters over the next year on air and internet ads and text ads that you'll get on your phone. And one thing that we saw this year leading up, not just to this race, but to the Charlotte municipal elections, was a lot of talk about the woman who died on the train. And there, her name was Rena, and she lost her life to a man who's awaiting homicide charges. But that video was played over and over again. It was shown in ads. It was shown on television media, and pundits talked about it and talked a lot about crime and safety in Charlotte. Well, in Charlotte, it didn't appear to do much for Republicans. They still lost. Democrats overwhelmingly, for the most part, won their seats back. The mayor, that race wasn't even close.
Vi Lyles won her seat with like 70% of the vote in Charlotte. So, of course, these issues of public safety can still resonate to people who don't specifically live in Charlotte. But the fact that voters there, who are the ones most touched by this, didn't really seem to mind the city's track record on public safety, which is, what the city council is there for.
Right.
Really foreshadow, I think, looking ahead to 2026, will those messages work? I mean, when Republicans introduced Irina's Law, named after this victim, they brought Michael Whatley to their press conference with them.
You beat me to it. We saw, that was one of his first public appearances, at least here in Raleigh, where he came down to the Capitol and stood with state lawmakers and said, we need to fix this. And it was what we thought a sign of things to come for his campaign over the next year. It'll be interesting to see if they recalibrate and put some other topic at the forefront of his campaign, since this one didn't seem to make a dent, at least not in the Charlotte City Council elections.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we do need to couch all of this with is, Democrats are not taking 100% of victory lap here. We said that this was the highest turnout in 20 years for municipal elections. Well, it's still only 25% of people voted, so 3 in every 4 people who could have come out and voted didn't. Mm-hmm. And obviously we know turnout is going to be a lot higher in 2026, and there's probably going to be other issues that we don't even know about right now that are going to be inspiring people. But I think what we have seen, at least for right now, is Democrats are fired up, they are energized, they want to get out, they want to go to the polls, and Republicans really are not feeling that same kind of energy. when everyone is getting 18 texts a day from both of these campaigns
Right.
asking them to come vote next year, when we just see a constant barrage of TV ads, social media ads, things are going to change. But I think at least for right now, clearly the momentum is on one side.
Right, and it's clear that people in the Republican Party are taking notice, specifically President Donald Trump. He made some remarks this morning about things needing to change and Republicans perhaps needing to change their strategy. It'll be interesting to see if in the immediate future we see a change in posture on this government shutdown. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats, have been pointing the finger at each other, blaming the other side for not coming to the table and striking a deal. That's probably what we'll see happen before we notice any changes to these campaigns, just because this election is still a year away. President Trump and Democrats in the Senate and the House and in Washington are probably going to make adjustments much faster than what you'll see around here, is my guess.
Yeah, still far away. You can't use one night's elections in an off-year municipal race to say, okay, these folks are going to win, these folks are going to lose. But I think both campaigns, like you said, are really, really looking at this and saying, okay, how do we tailor our messaging? How do we fix our messaging? How do we reach people and actually get them excited about our candidate or keep up our momentum that we've got heading into a huge midterm year in 2026?